Hello everybody, my name is Naya and I'm the Black female engineer. I provide content for new and aspiring software engineers, and today we are going over how to pick a coding language, specifically your first coding language as a beginner programmer and you really just have no idea where to go. So when you're picking a coding language, there's definitely multiple approaches that you can take to get to that first language. One of the approaches you can take is figure out what career you want to end up in. If you are trying to learn how to code, odds are you're looking to at some point get paid for your work and get hired as a developer, as a software engineer. And so do some research into what career paths are out there in this field. Then when you find a career path that resonates with you, your personality, your experience, and really just what you want to do in the future, then let that lead you to the coding language, because not all coding languages are transferable between careers. So I'll provide you with a few insights into what coding language you may choose based on the career. If you want to be a front-end developer, your track in terms of coding languages and frameworks to know is extremely direct. It is a straight shot road. And really what you need to learn is JavaScript. Learn JavaScript paired, of course, with HTML and CSS. Front-end development deals with what users see when they are on an app, on a web app, and it deals with how they interact with the platform. And that interaction piece is where JavaScript really heavily comes in. So there's front-end. If you want to be a back-end developer, what I really recommend is choosing either JavaScript, again JavaScript, or C# or Python. Python is great because it is very beginner friendly, often dubbed as the easiest programming language to know, and that is great because it can just do so much and actually can be beneficial throughout so many different career paths, so you really can't go wrong. C# is not as beginner friendly, however it is very on demand in terms of the job market, and so if you can find your way to be a great C# developer, you will not have troubles finding a job. And then JavaScript is great if you want to do full stack development, front end and back end development, because if you recall, that was the language to learn if you want to be a front end developer. Well, JavaScript is also great for the back end. And so if you know you want to do full stack, or you're undecided between front and back end, but you know you want to do web development, again, JavaScript, you really can't go wrong. If you want to instead go into 2D game development, again, JavaScript comes in here, and C#. JavaScript being dubbed a bit easier to learn than C#, but again, C# being so on demand in terms of the job market. Now say you want to be in game dev but not 2D, you want to be in 3D game development. So really the languages to go for would be C# or C++. It's recommended that if you want to go this route, to actually start with C# and then glide into C++, because C# is harder to learn, but C++ is also not for the weak. And so going this direction of C# to C++, it will just provide a better learning curve, a much easier learning process for you. And then number 5, data science or machine learning. If you want to do one of these two things, it's very much recommended that you go for Python, which is great because again, it's easy to learn. And so that's just a sneak peek into what languages you can learn depending on the career path you're looking to take. However, I'll make sure to add some articles below that really goes in depth into all the career paths and all the different languages coinciding with them. Now, say you don't know what you want to do, and that is okay. You don't know what you want to do, but you know you want to be a developer of some kind. Honestly, just pick a language. Just pick a language, throw a dart at the wall, see where it lands, and go from there. Truly, I'm being dead serious. So pick a language and devote time to it. Make sure you devote time to it, because it's very hard to get a sense of a language in just a few days. So say something like, okay, I'm going to make sure I devote myself to Python for the next 1 to 2 to 3 months, and then make decisions after that. This allows you to really learn the fundamentals of the language, and then after that time period is over, see and ask yourself, okay, how did I feel during this learning process? Did I like the language? Did I not? Can I envision myself continuing to use this on a day-to-day basis at work one day? And let that guide your next decision. And honestly, just keep rinsing and repeating until you feel that you can see yourself with this language on a job one day. I had picked Python as my very first language, and not gonna lie, it didn't take me long for me to abandon it. Not because I didn't like the language, more because in terms of my learning, it was very hard for me to stick with it because I didn't understand when I would use certain things. I understood if statements and all these different ways to go about programming Python, but I just didn't understand what I would use it for and how I would use it, how I would use these if statements and things like that. And so I was learning how to program, learning how to code, but not understanding how I would be a developer in this role, if that makes sense. And so I ended up actually switching to JavaScript, HTML, and CSS because I loved that immediate gratification I got when I changed something, when I changed a color from red to blue, and then when I made sure that on click, this happened. I loved that immediate gratification. And so that's why I say I didn't choose like the career chose me just because I loved learning these things, and that coincided with a career in web dev. But no, do not be afraid to keep on trying different languages again and again because there's really no loss in it. Even if you see that you don't resonate well with Python, well, when you start working or when you're on the job hunt and you see a job that says, oh, we want a web developer that has a little bit of experience with Python, well, now that is you. And so don't see anything as time wasted or a loss in any way because it really still carries with you some type of benefit that you may not see just yet. Now, let me just say this because this is something I did not know for a very long time. There is a difference between a language and a framework. I made the mistake of jumping into frameworks, not even knowing that there was a difference. Jumping into Ruby on Rails when I didn't know any which way what Ruby was. Like truly had no idea. And so make sure you understand the difference. A language is simply put what is used to write programs, while a framework is a set of tools used to make development, especially development of larger applications, just a much easier process. Something I've said in the past is the difference between long division and using a calculator. You still need to know long division, but after you know long division, it's okay to start using a calculator to make mathematical problems and homework a lot faster and easy, but you still know the back-end process of it. And so make sure that when you're looking at all these fancy schmancy different things, you make sure they are languages and you go with the language first, because if you enter a job only knowing the framework and not knowing the language behind it, that's going to create some real problems for you once you are running into errors and trying to figure out why something's not working. Meanwhile, you never realize what JavaScript was, and here you are programming in React. So make sure that you take the time to identify language versus framework. If you still are unclear of the difference between the two, make sure to, before picking something up, just Google what is X and X. So for me, I would have said, hey, what is Ruby on Rails, a language or a framework? And then it would have said, no, girl, Ruby is the language. At the end of the day, be like Nike and just do it. Truly just do it, because again, there is no loss to be had in that process. At the end of the day, you're still learning, you're still growing, you're still developing. And so just pick something up and go from there. If you're now trying to see how best to go about the learning process, I have a video called The Best Way to Learn to Code, which I hope will help you in that process. But if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking and subscribing. I make 2 to 3 of these a week. And so yeah, you would see a lot of these just coming at you, just trying to help you out, trying to give you the best resources, insights. And so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.